carries a message. It speaks to you. It changes you. And that's exactly what we do just for you every Sunday as we take you to Urban Paradise, 9:10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Urban Paradise is our weekly musical journey that will serve up 110 glorious minutes of positive storytelling through music, mixed in with inspirational features to provoke thought and to heal the soul.
You're like a dream come true. Just wanna be with you.
So join me, Diane Ashton Smith, this and every Sunday, 9:10 a.m. to 11 a.m. here on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media. Urban Paradise, opening our hearts, connecting to others.
Not a mercy. This one is very classic, dedicated to all the schoolers who are taking beats.
If you've ever struggled to pass an exam, then you'll know that students today are under great pressure to get good grades and secure qualification needed to move on to higher education. The problem is that too many students are struggling alone and could really benefit from connecting with hardworking teachers and other bright students in other parts of the country and the region. Join me, Dennis Brooks, this and every Friday evening from 8 to 9, with a repeat on Saturday morning from 8 to 9. For the A-Team, a study group on radio, my team of teachers, students, and experts will break down the syllabus, giving you information, tips, and past paper questions that will help you get top grades in your upcoming exams. Follow us on Facebook Live and on Twitter and be a part of the community. It's the A-Team, Fridays at 8 p.m. with a repeat at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. It's your free extra class on radio and social media. And it's right here on Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Me sing. If you pressure who know, you're illiterate and foolish, you might on a cook, and you're not gonna get no work, and your teeth like a pussy.
Good evening, Jamaica, and welcome to another edition of the A-Team radio show right here on Nationwide at 90 FM. You are listening to Damien Scarlett this evening, and we are going to just jump right into our conversation. And why am I saying that? Because as you know, each and every Friday we are here to help our nation students to help with this syllabus as they go through their various subjects. And we know that during this time, and I would have mentioned it last week, that as we are going through the Hurricane Melissa relief efforts and getting back in terms of the classroom, this program is very critical to our nation students, and this evening we're going to be picking up by looking at Cape Law. I have a special guest with me today, King's Counsel Anthony Williams. He's a senior lawyer for over 34 years, managing partner of the law firm UCM Williams and Company, and of course he is a lecturer of Cape Law at the Immaculate Conception High School. Good evening, Sir Anthony. How are you?
Good evening.
Yes, good to have you. And I know we're going to be talking about law this evening, specifically looking at Unit 2 of the CAPE syllabus. But I know for the recent results that would have been out for CAPE Law, specifically in Unit 1, through your work and your involvement there in your school institution, you'd have obtained 5 of the 10 regional merit awards, and this is pretty much like a straight A profile based on what I've seen so far. So I want to say congratulations are in order for you and your students, as well as the Immaculate Conception High School. But how do you feel? Let's start there before we get into the whole lesson. In terms of, go ahead.
Well, let me say thank you very much for that commendation. I think we owe a lot to the principal of the Immaculate Conception High School, Miss Stacey Reynolds. And I say we owe her a lot because the program was fairly recently introduced, I would say about 3 to 5 years.
Yes.
And my understanding is that persons really weren't amenable as such for law to be introduced at Immaculate. But, knowing the person who she is, success-oriented, stuck to the task, introduced the subject, and the rest is history. So the law program is headed by Mr. Kevin Thompson, the head of the humanities department, and he also teaches law, and so we must also extend congratulations to Mr. Kevin Thompson, who has done remarkably well, because some of his students were part of the success. But how we do it is that, well, last year all the students did Unit 1. This year we have some doing Unit 1, and the grade 13s doing Unit 2. But we assist each other. There are some modules that he is stronger in, and there are some modules that I'm stronger in. So we do that specialization and division of labor to ensure that the students get maximum. But the regional results were that for Unit 1, there were 9 students from Jamaica that were on the regional list, 9 students, and of the 9, 5 were from Immaculate.
Wow.
And the top of the 10 was from Immaculate, or is from Immaculate. Yes. So we want to congratulate those 5 students. So basically, Immaculate got 50% of the pie.
Yes.
And the remaining 50% was with other schools, about 4 or 5 other schools, including Trinidad and Tobago, that copped one of the spots. But we take the law program very seriously, like other subjects. We know the content of the syllabus. We apply the syllabus, and we instill high standards in the students. So they know that once they're doing law, or, as a matter of fact, any subject at Immaculate, they have to do well. The school's motto demand that they do well, and they are classified as phenomenal ladies. So you can't be a phenomenal lady if you're not reading phenomenally, if you're not studying phenomenally, and you're not getting phenomenal grades. So it's an adjective that really fits the students. So I want to say thanks to the principal, Miss Stacey Ann Reynolds, for her insight and foresight. And again, to Mr. Kevin Thompson and to the hardworking students. I must say that we're working hard, or even harder, to have more students on the merit list, and where it is our hope that when the regional awards are published next year, we will see the number 1 being Immaculate, number 2 Immaculate, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Immaculate.
Yes, well, that's very good that the program is doing well, and I know that there are other institutions as well that would they're continuing that work. And you mentioned something earlier on about what I think would contribute to the success. But apart from the reading, because law does require students to read a lot and to analyze cases, but would you say there is something else that would have contributed to the students' exceptional performance this year?
Well, a couple of things. One, several schools do not have a practicing lawyer in their institution. You don't have to be a practicing lawyer. Let me just clear that up. But it's an added advantage, okay? And so I'm a practicing attorney with, as you mentioned, 34 years of experience. And I know the intricacies. Mr. Thompson is a very experienced teacher as well. He knows the syllabus and he knows what to do. And together, we put a plan together. We ensure that it is executed and executed well.
Right.
So, and we also assist each other in terms of, as I said, certain areas that I may be stronger in or he may be stronger in, because it's called division of labor. It's called specialization. In economics, it's called comparative advantage. And for those students who do economics, comparative advantage is very important. In other words, you specialize or produce the product that you are more able to produce more cost effectively.
Yes. And
so with law, we do that. I remember when my first child was attending Queen's Prep. It was one of the first I've seen it, and it is very good. in the primary school or the prep school level, you have teachers, just one teacher doing maths and English and language arts and social, one teacher.
Right.
And that's the norm. At Queen's Prep in particular, and I'm just singling them out, the teachers there are allowed to do some specialization. So although they know all the subjects, but if you have someone who has a particular mastery in maths, so all the grade 6 students will do that teacher, then there's one for social studies and then one for language arts. And by that way, you get the best out of the teacher and you get the best out of the students, right? And that's exactly what we do at Immaculate.
I want to thank you for sharing that. And, for those persons who are listening, other institutions, other teachers, maybe they want to get the secret that you have. But I want to give, again, that congratulations to the staff there for the achievement in the regional awards. And I want for us, when we come back from the other side of this break here, we are going to be touching a little bit on the Unit 2 of the syllabus that really covers the whole matter of private law, talking about the law of tort and the law of contract. And specifically this evening, we want to talk about the frustration dealing with contracts there. So stick and stay with us when we come back. Much more on the A-Team Radio Show.
You illiterate and foolish, you might turn a cook. And you not go get no work, and your teeth like a puss. Send me granny with a purse, I eat you up a joke.
It's undeniable that we should be together.
The true beauty of music is that it connects people. It carries a message. It speaks to you. It changes you. And that's exactly what we do just for you every Sunday as we take you to Urban Paradise, 9:10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Urban Paradise is our weekly musical journey that will serve up 110 glorious minutes of positive storytelling through music, mixed in with inspirational features to provoke thought and to heal the soul.
You're like a dream come true. Just wanna be with you.
So join me, Diane Ashton Smith, this and every Sunday, 9:10 a.m. to 11 a.m. here on Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media. Urban Paradise, opening our hearts, connecting to others.
It's the weekend and the youth are taking over the airwaves. Yes, we are the new voices and faces of the Talk Up You radio show. The voice of the Jamaican youth right here on Nationwide 90 FM.
After a busy week of work and school, come unwind with Jamaica's #1 youth radio show.
We're bringing you entertainment, fun facts, and staying true to youth development and advocacy.
Catch the action each and every Saturday as we roll out buzzy segments. What say you?
Youth for chat,
Life skills,
Global Connect,
and
Bust the Youth.
That's the Talk Up Youth radio show, Saturdays 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM. Talk Up Youth, Miss Effie.
Talk Up Youth. Don't miss it.
Me sing, and if you pressure who no more, you illiterate and foolish, you might turn a cook. And you not go get no work, and your teeth
Welcome back. Welcome back to the A-Team Radio Show right here on Nationwide at 90 FM, the best revolution station in Jamaica. I know if you listen to me every week, you hear me say across the world as well. We are speaking with our King's Counsel senior lawyer, Anthony Williams. He is a lecturer at the Immaculate Conception High School. This evening we are talking about Unit 2 of our syllabus, CAPE syllabus, and we want to talk about the whole matter of contracts. I want you just to lay a little background for us, Sir Anthony, about the nature of the law of contract before we get into the specifics. What's that all about?
All right. So for the benefit of our viewers, we're speaking specifically about Unit 2 today.
Yes.
We have Unit 1. And so one of the module, that's module, is it module 2, I believe, deals with contract. So you have module 3, which is the real property.
Yes.
And so the 3 modules are real property, law of contract, and law of tort. So the module that deals with contract specifically deals with commercial operations where 2 or more persons enter into an agreement to do something. And once you enter into an agreement to do something, there are certain elements of the contract.
Right.
There must be an offer, there must be an acceptance, there must be consideration, there must be an intention to create legal relations. The parties must have the capacity to contract. So these are the fundamental elements of a contract. I'm going to go back over them. There must be an offer.
Yes.
So you go into a store, you want to buy a cell phone. So you make an offer to purchase a cell phone. The seller or the store owner accepts your offer. You pay the cash or credit card or some higher purchase terms. So there's consideration, and the consideration is the benefit. You have an intention to create legal relations. In other words, you're serious about it. It's not a joking matter. You intend to be serious about it so that if the owner fails to comply with his part of the bargain, then you're letting him know that you can sue him. And if you fail to comply, then you can sue as well. Right. There's also the Consumer Protection Act and the Sales of Goods Act. So what these acts says, once you enter into an agreement, there are legal consequences. You must have the capacity to enter into the contract. That is, you must be 18 years of age and over. You must not be an imbecile, and you must not be a prisoner. You must not be an inmate. These persons would lack capacity, right? So these are the basic things. Now, so once you enter into a contract, then, and the contract is valid, then the parties are expected to carry out their part of the bargain.
Right.
So each party is expected to perform or carry out their part of the bargain. But there are times when the parties are unable to carry out their part of the bargain. Why? Because of what is called a supervening event. In other words, something happened. And because of that something happening, it prevents you from performing the contract.
Yes.
A classical example is where you and I decided to enter into a contract where you are a car dealer. I'm just using an example. So you're a car dealer, you import cars, both new and used. So I look on your website, there's a 2026 model that I see. I purchase it, it's going for 15 million, again an example. So I pay down half of the price, and the vehicle is coming from Germany.
Yes.
The vehicle is now loaded onto the ship, into the container, on its way, and in one of the oceans, a terrible hurricane came, or some act of God. So a mighty hurricane came, and there was a disaster. The ship sunk, and obviously the goods would have destroyed. They would have vanished. Now, here's the question. So there's no longer the ship, there's no longer the goods. So can I now enforce you to perform the contract? And this is where frustration comes into the picture.
Okay.
And I choose the topic frustration because a hurricane has just recently hit Jamaica, Hurricane Melissa, and several things has happened. Several things has happened. And we're going to see the relevance. So frustration basically means that there is an event, a supervening event that occurs that has rendered the contract impossible of being performed. Right. So once the supervening event occurs and it has rendered the contract impossible of being performed, then the law says that each party will be relieved, they will be released from their obligation. So you will no longer be forced or compelled to supply that motor vehicle, and I cannot be forced to pay you for the motor vehicle because a supervening event has occurred. So that is what frustration is all about, and there are some rudiments to frustration.
Well, as you mentioned, that are these things that would be written somewhere in the contract?
All right. So you asked a very important question, and that is one of the elements that would invalidate a frustration, a contract. So So what the law says, in order for frustration to work, the parties, there are some guidelines. The parties must not have planned for it. Once you have planned for it, then it cannot be frustration. So if you're going to enter into a contract and you said, in the event
that
a hurricane comes, in the event that the building is destroyed by fire, in the event, etc., etc., once you have made provision for it, then the law says that is not frustration, because you would have made provision for it. Frustration is where the thing happened suddenly, and you did not anticipate or expect it, or you plan for it.
So it's beyond the control then of the contracting
it must be beyond the control of each party. The other situation is that in order for frustration to occur, neither party must be responsible for that supervening event, neither party. So it must not be as a result of the negligence or the carelessness or the recklessness or the default of one party, right? Neither party must be negligent or responsible. Once someone contributes to it, right? Then you can't claim for frustration, all right? Now, so those are two of the critical exceptions. No, two factors that the students would have to state in order for them to properly answer a frustration question. So we want to look at now the definition. The definition of frustration. Now, I always tell my students that there's a difference between an A student and a B student and a C student, or a grade 1, a grade 2, a grade 3. And there's also a difference between a merit student and a grade 1 student. Now, you can get a grade 1, but you're not on the merit list. But if you're going to be on the merit list, then you have to do what we apply at Immaculate. And we apply a formula called CP squared R squared.
CP squared R squared.
CP squared R squared. The C stands for confidence. You have to be confident. The first P means preparation. You have to prepare.
Yes.
And the second P, that's a CP squared, right?
Right.
Yeah, right. But let me get to the R. The R is read. You have to read, and read. And the second R is resolute. You have to be resolute. Resolute. You have to be a fighter. All right? You can't give up. You have to be a fighter. Okay?
Yes.
You have to be a fighter. All right? So it's very important. You have to be confident. You have to prepare, and you have to be practical. And practical mean apply the proper theory, apply the law. And R squared, read. A lot of students are not reading. Law is a reading subject. Law is not like accounts. Accounts involves maths. Accounts involves writing up your trial balance and your balance sheet and doing your equations and doing your debit and credit. Maths is like, doing your formulas, writing out your equations, working it out. Law is not like physics or maths or like accounting or further maths. Law is a reading subject. So you have to read.
Right.
You must read. If you're not reading, you're going to have a problem.
Right. And we cannot overemphasize that enough in the importance of reading there. Yeah. Before you go, there's something that came to my mind as I was listening to you, because in this whole context of law, Sir Anthony, is that when it comes on to ensuring, for example, and I don't know if I'm jumping ahead of what you had planned, but ensuring that there's a fair allocation of losses between parties. How do you deal with that? And is that in the context of like law reform or the constant law reforms that we have to ensure that we're dealing with that if such cases arise?
I'm not sure I understand the
question. I'm saying, so in the sense of in terms of dealing with the frustration or the consequences of the frustration then,
yes,
right? How do we ensure that, there's fair allocation then?
Well, all right. It's not so much a matter of fairness, is a matter of what the parties agree to.
Okay.
So what you're doing is looking at the consequences of frustration. But before you go there, I don't want the program to end and we don't give a definition of frustration. So let's look at the definition first.
Yes.
All right. Now, for the students who are listening, once you're asked to define frustration, then you have to give a legal definition. Okay, a legal definition. You have to also cite the relevant case law. In citing the case law, it will be very appropriate for you to choose your language properly. So there are several ways that you can choose your language. So the leading case in frustration is called Davis Contractors. Davis Contractors Limited versus Fairham.
Yeah.
I repeat, Davis Contractors Limited versus Fairham, Fareham, a 1956 case.
I want you to hold that. So, Anthony, hold that point for me. We have to go to the break. When we come back, we will take that case law. All right. So this is the A-Team Radio Show. We'll be right back after this.
You illiterate and foolish, you might on a cook, and you not go get no work, and your teeth like a puss. Send me granny with a purse, I eat you off the choke. If I see them, I hold your red and big tonight.
They've lost homes.
Everything is gone. Have no house, have nothing.
They've lost power.
No water, no food, no light, no bed. Jamaican people need desperate help.
Some haven't heard a familiar voice in days.
The last thing I said to my sister, please be safe. And that was the last time.
For others, hope is starting to ebb. But together, we are rebuilding Jamaica, one parish at a time.
We have to try. We have to try. Can't give up.
Join Nationwide 90 FM from November 21 to December 19, every Friday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. as we broadcast live from Westmoreland, St. James, Trelawney, Hanover, and St. Elizabeth, helping families and communities rebuild after Hurricane Melissa.
And you can help too.
Bring your donations, non-perishable food, water, hygiene products, lighting, or recovery supplies to our office at 14 Ocean Boulevard, the Digital Building, downtown Kingston.
Let's show the true strength of our nation: unity, compassion, and care. Together, we can rebuild lives and restore hope. Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Give us strength. Never let I fail.
Me sing, on every pressure, you illiterate and foolish, you might on a cook, and you not go get no work, and your teeth.
Welcome back to the A-Team Radio Show. If you are just joining us, we are focusing this evening on Cape Law, Unit 2, and we are speaking with attorney at law here, Anthony Williams. He is a lecturer at the Immaculate Conception High School, and just before the break, he was explaining to us this very important case law when it comes down to the frustration of contracts. Yes, I just got back my bearings there. And you were mentioning now about the Davis Contractors Limited versus Fairham.
Case,
yes, go ahead.
So the leading case. So the examiner may ask you, define the term frustration or what is frustration. So you would want to give a nice definition,
yes.
And you could say the classic judicial definition of frustration was postulated eloquently by Lord Simon in the leading case or the quintessential case of Davis Contractors Limited versus Fairham.
Yeah.
Now, without even getting into the definition, have you noticed my choice of language?
Is it the UK, in terms of the UK language?
No. I'm going to repeat, right?
Yes.
And I'm going to show the students a difference. So I'm saying you could say into the examiner the classic judicial definition of frustration was eloquently postulated or adumbrated by Lord Simon in the quintessential case of Davis Contractors Limited versus Fairham. What I'm trying to say is that in giving your definition, you may want to add a little flair to it, okay?
All right.
The grade 3 or the grade 2 student may say, frustration is defined as follows, full stop, and they go on.
Yes.
The grade 1 student and the merit student would have add a little flair to it, okay? And so that's why I'm saying that that makes a big difference, okay? So your choice of language is also very important. That is what we do at Immaculate, you know? We're full of language. Not boasting, but that's who we are. We have phenomenal teachers, we have a phenomenal principal, and we have phenomenal students. So let's get straight to the definition. So Davis Contractor says, frustration. So I'm quoting Lord Simon. Frustration of a contract takes place when there supervenes an event without the fault of either party and for which the contract makes no sufficient provision. I repeat, frustration of a contract takes place when there supervenes an event without the fault of either party and for which the contract makes no sufficient provision.
Right.
Which so significantly, this is a key word, which so significantly changes the nature of the contract. Not merely the expense or onerousness of the outstanding contractual rights and or obligations from what the parties could reasonably have contemplated at the time of its execution, that it would be unjust to hold them to the literal sense of its stipulation in the new circumstances. And in such a case, the law declares both parties to be discharged from further performance. So in this definition given by Lord Simon in the Davis Contractors case, there are some key words that the students have to remember and they must state.
Right.
That frustration of a contract takes place when there is a supervening event. That is a key word. You have to tell the examiner that the frustration occurs because there is a supervening event. The next thing is that that supervening event must significantly change the contract.
Right.
It not only must it, and the word significant means it must radically or fundamentally change the contract.
To be able to satisfy what is there, right?
Yes. And so it is not just a supervening event, it must radically or fundamentally or significantly change the contract.
Right.
So we did mention about you and I entering into this contract. The motor vehicle is coming from Germany. It is now on the ship. The ship is sailing. It's in the Atlantic Ocean.
Right.
A mighty Category 5 hurricane came and the ship sunk. Once the ship sunk, the goods automatically will be destroyed. So this supervening event would have radically changed the contract because the subject matter is destroyed. Right? It has radically changed the contract in the sense that the goods no longer exist. You cannot perform your part of the bargain, I cannot perform a part of the bargain. So that is what the definition is talking about. And because
before you go, I'm sorry, Anthony. So there are three things that I've heard so far, and as you go along, so it's an unforeseen event.
Yes.
It's beyond the control of the parties, and you just mentioned now the radical change in obligations.
Yes, there must be a radical change of obligation. Now, if you're going to answer a frustration question, and you don't mention the word supervening and radical change, then as I tell my students, then it's not a law exam you're doing. You're either doing French, physics, bio, or add maths. It could not be a law exam.
Right.
Can't be a law exam because the examiner is looking out for these keywords. There must be a radical change, okay? And so, and as we mentioned now, that this supervening event must not be the fault of either person. In other words, the parties can't say, hey, it's you who bring the hurricane, it's you make the man-made hurricane, those kind of arguments, all right? Or you're the one who caused the ship to sink.
Yes.
All right? It must not be at the fault of either party. The other thing is that neither party must have foreseen it. You must not have any contemplation any hurricane is going to come. But you can make provision for hurricane. But once you make provision, then that's not frustration. Okay? So, and to answer your question now in terms of the consequences, one of the consequences of frustration is that once frustration is proven, then it makes the contract impossible of performing. And when the contract is rendered impossible of being performed, then both parties are relieved or discharged or released from their obligation. And therefore, if you had monies to be paid for the balance, you no longer will pay that money. If you had paid money for the goods, then it will be returned. Yes. And so your obligations, you're back to square one. All right?
Yeah, that's clear.
No. So let us look at now, there are 4 ways that you can have a supervening event. 4 ways. One way is where the subject matter has been destroyed. So we mentioned about the ship. So, and there are some leading cases that speak about the subject matter. So we're talking about the subject matter being destroyed as one subset of the supervening event. So remember now, we're talking about the contract has been frustrated, but why is the contract frustrated? The contract is frustrated because there's a supervening event. So we can picture a circle. The circle is a supervening event. And then we can draw some lines coming down from the circle, about 4 lines coming down. Those are the subset. So what are the subset of supervening events? One of them is where the subject matter is destroyed. And the leading case on that is Taylor versus Caldwell. Taylor, Taylor versus Caldwell. You also have the Sale of Goods Act, Section 8 of Jamaica, which is a leading case, right, in that?
Yes.
Right? And you have a Japanese case called Zagiloro, right? Zagiloro, a Japanese case. So let us look at Taylor versus Caldwell. In Taylor versus Caldwell, it's an English case. And a music hall was hired by one of the parties to have a concert.
Right.
So the music hall was the primary subject matter. That was the critical subject matter. It's like renting the National Stadium or the National Arena or some place. Unfortunately, the music hall was destroyed by fire.
Right.
Because the music hall was destroyed by fire, then the claimant filed a claim insisting that the defendant must pay him the money for the music hall. The defendant says, no, I can't pay you the money for the music hall. The music hall has been destroyed by fire. The claimant says, I don't. The claimant says, I don't business about that. You have to give me the money for the music hall. The court ruled that the contract was frustrated. Why the contract was frustrated? Again, because we come back to the main word, supervening event. Right. So a supervening event occurred, and that supervening event was the fact that the music hall, which is the subject matter, was destroyed.
Destroyed by fire. So the contract his contract is discharged on that basis.
That is correct. So the contract is destroyed on that basis. So that is the leading case. Then there's another case called there's Section 8 of the Sale of Goods Act. And Section 8 of the Sale of Goods Act is a legislation. This is of Jamaica. It says where two parties enter into a contract for the sale of goods, if at the time when the goods are going to be passed, they are perished. So I purchased some goods from you in the wholesale store, and you're supposed to deliver the goods. But for some reason, the goods are perished. They are destroyed, under the Sale of Goods Act, by whatever means. Then it could be a pestilence that occurred. It could be COVID conditions that caused them. If they are perished before they are passed, then Section 8 of the Sale of Goods Act says that in those circumstances, the contract would be frustrated. Now there is a Barbadian case. I will tell the name shortly. In that case differs from the Taylor and Caldwell case in that there were the two parties, the claimant and the defendant.
Yes.
The defendant was a music producer company, and the claimant had given the defendant the contract to produce a music album. So let me go again. The defendant was a music producer. Just like these reggae artists, they will go to the studio and say, hey, I have written a song and I want you to produce an album for me.
Yes.
So what the claimant did was to give the defendant two things. He gave him a DAT, some digital instrument, and he also gave him a case master called a CM. So he gave him two things to produce the music, but the two items were at the defendant's store warehouse, and a fire came, and the DAT, the digital instrument, was destroyed.
Yes.
But the case master was not destroyed. The defendant said, look, you can't force me to produce the album again because something happened and destroyed. The case master destroyed the two things. The court says, no, man, that's not frustration, because although the fire occurred at the warehouse or at your music company,
yes,
you can always get another case master to produce the digital aspect of it. So the destruction of the subject matter must be complete. So in the Taylor and Caldwell case, the real difference between the two is that the music all was destroyed, gone.
Right.
But in the Barbadian case, although the two items were destroyed, the court says, but you can easily go to another store and get a case master and produce the album. So it's not a case where you can't get a case master. So that is the difference. All right.
All right. So but before you go to the last point there, let's just take this break and come back, and we'll finish up that point. This is the A-Team Radio Show. We're talking about Cape Law. Soon come.
I eat your waffle choke. If I see them, I hold your red and big tonight.
Everything loud and wicked every Saturday 3 to 5 p.m. with Outside with Pepita. Loan vibes, loan laughs, and loan entertainment. Come on the road with we. Cause when we say Outside with Pepita, we're there all over Jamaica. Anyway, check them out. We're there. We're in on the business. Stay tuned in for prizes, surprises, giveaways, guest artists, and enough more. But hold on there. Don't forget to pick up my DJ. DJ Jerome, the shell boss, I'm gonna make it bust to pew pew with the maddest, baddest, and latest tune. So look out for Outside with Pepita. We might be coming to a town near you. You heard it here first. Outside with Pepita, Saturdays 3 to 5 p.m. on Nationwide 90 FM. The new revolution in media. Jamaica, lock it in and don't miss a thing.
Me sing. Buck, buck, buck. On every pressure, who no buck. You illiterate and foolish, you might on a cook. And you not gonna get no work.
Welcome back to the A-Team Radio Show. This evening we are looking at Cape Law. I would want to say part one of our conversation, as we're looking at the whole matter of the frustration of contract. And we are talking with Attorney at Law Anthony Williams. We were making reference just now to a particular case law, and we were talking about what happened under the Barbadian law. I don't know if you're referring to, sir, about the Barbados Water Authority versus Ashton, but you could clarify.
Right, so it's not the Barbadian law really, it's really a Barbadian case, right? And the name of the case is, so it is not a Barbadian law, it is a general case law.
Okay.
So the name of the case is Hulse, Hulse.
Yes.
Versus Knights. Right, so it's Hulse versus Knights. Hulse versus Knights. And I have the document. It says the defendants, they entered into a contract with the claimant whereby they agreed to produce an album of recorded music for the claimant.
Right.
And in pursuance of this agreement, what the claimant did, he delivered to the defendants, among other things, a digital audio tape. That is the DAT. So the claimant delivered a digital audio tape to the defendants, as well as a cassette master. So the two items were delivered to the defendant, and the defendant's responsibility was to produce an album. But unfortunately, something happened where the contract was claimed to be frustrated, but it was not frustrated, right? There was a fire at the defendant's premises. So remember with Taylor versus Caldwell, there was a fire. The music hall was destroyed.
Right.
So there was a fire at the defendant's music hall. I'm sorry, the defendant's business premises, where they were supposed to produce the album. But the difference is that although the digital,
this is for the tapes.
Tape, yes, the tape and the cassette master, right? So although the digital audio tape and the cassette master were destroyed, the court is saying, look, you can always go and get a cassette master to produce a digital audio tape. So although your building was destroyed, did it prevent the production of the thing? No, because you need, so the difference between Taylor and Caldwell and Hulse versus Knights is that in Taylor, you're showing that the subject matter was completely destroyed. So in order for frustration to work in relation to the subject matter, it must be completely destroyed. Suppose, for example, someone is going to get married and you entered into a contract to have the reception at a particular hotel, and the hotel is destroyed by hurricane or by fire or by a torpedo. Then the contract will be frustrated. The subject matter is completely destroyed. All right. So that's one area of frustration where the subject matter is destroyed. Now we get to another area of supervening event where either death occurred of the party or a serious incapacity. Death or serious incapacity. In other words, if two parties enter into a contract, you could have a stage show where your school is going to have a barbecue, a major concert, a stage show. You could have Sting or Reggae Sumfest, and one of the artists died. Then the contract is going to be frustrated. Why? Because the subject matter of the contract is the artist.
And they can't perform.
And the artist cannot perform. So something supervening has occurred. And what is it that occurred? It is death. So the law says, as long as the supervening event is radically or substantially or fundamentally change the contract, then there's no more contract. So again, we come back to say, students, you have to use the word radically, substantially, and fundamentally change the contract. If you do not use those words, again, I'm going to repeat. It must be a physics exam you're doing, French or Spanish.
Yes.
Can't be law. Can't be law. So we have looked at two items two areas of a supervening. I'm going to give another example. There's a case called Notcutt, Notcutt, Notcutt versus Universal Equipment Company. I'm going to repeat, Notcutt, Notcutt versus Universal Equipment Company. This is a case where an employee suffered a heart attack, and as a result of the heart attack was rendered medically incapable and incompetent of continuing the employment.
Yes.
So a supervening event has occurred. And what is a supervening event? It is the fact that the person suffered a massive heart attack. This has changed the contract fundamentally because the person can no longer perform the contractual arrangements. So this is another area. Now, so we have looked at the destruction of the subject matter. We have looked at where the death has occurred or the serious incapacity of the person.
Right.
Now, another area of supervening impossibility is where there is a non-occurrence of an expected event. I'm going to repeat. So the third area or third subset of frustration is where there is a non-occurrence of an expected event. Now, we have two leading cases. One is called Krell versus Henry. Krell versus Henry. And then the other one is called Hernby
Steamboat,
right.
Versus Hutton, yes.
Right. At Hernby Steamboat versus Hutton. And these two cases are called the coronation cases. So these are the two leading cases. So let me deal with Krell versus Henry. Now in Krell versus Henry, the King Edward VII was scheduled to be coronated on a particular day. What the defendant did was to hire the claimant, specifically hired or rented this particular flat that was strategically located to view the location of the coronation. So the coronation was going to have a procession, and this was an ideal spot. It's like going to the National Stadium and you buy a grandstand ticket. Yes. And not only did you buy a grandstand ticket, but you may buy a VIP ticket, or you go to a particular section of the grandstand to view the event. It's a strategic view. So the claimant hired this house, this flat, but unfortunately the King Edward VII was ill. The coronation did not take place.
Right.
And so there's a dispute now as to whether or not the house should still be rented or the money should still be paid. And so one party said, hey, the contract is frustrated. The other party says, no, I still need my money because the flat was rented. The court said, look, the flat was rented specifically for King Edward's coronation. So remember, we're dealing with the topic, the non-occurrence of an expected event.
Yes.
So let us work backwards. What is the expected event? The expected event was a coronation. So we ask the question, did that expected event occur? No, it did not occur. It did, and because it did not occur, then the court ruled that the contract was frustrated because the foundation of the contract was with the coronation, and also the coronation was critical, and so that unit was rented to view the coronation. So the court ruled that the contract was frustrated because the contract was centered around the coronation. Now, there is a big difference now between the Krell and Henry case and the Hernby case.
Yes.
Because with the Hernby, it also relates to the coronation. So students, can't miss Crellin Henry and the Herne and the Hudson case, Herne Bay Steamboat, because in the Herne Bay Steamboat case, there were two reasons why the contract was formed. One, they wanted to use the boat to view the coronation.
Right.
But also there was a second purpose, which was to go and look at a naval fleet. In other words, go on some sightseeing.
Yes, and that was cancelled.
When and because the coronation was cancelled, then the one party says, "Hey, the contract is frustrated." The court says, "No,
part of it
the contract is not frustrated and cannot be frustrated because the reason why the boat was hired was for two purposes. So although the coronation was cancelled, you still could go and have the sightseeing."
So in a sense, then, so Herne is saying that they're holding to the view that part of the contract is still possible.
That is correct.
Okay.
So part of the contract is still possible, and therefore the students would have to tell the examiner that the real difference between the Crellin Henry case and the Herne Bay Steamboat case is that with Crellin Henry, it was not possible for the contract to be performed because the foundation of the contract is gone. But in relation to the steamboat case, the Herne Bay Steamboat case, the foundation is still not gone. It's like, you plan to go and take a taxi, you go on a cruise, and it's a 7-day cruise, and the cruise says, okay, we'll have 5 stops. But if the cruise did not make 1 stop and it could make the other 5 stops, contract cannot be frustrated because you still can go on with the others. And that is exactly with the Herne Bay case.
Well,
so
I know we're almost out of time here, Sir Anthony, but one of the things that I just want to ask me to probably respond to, and as we bring it into focus, so we're definitely going to have a part 2. As you look at these cases, or as the students examine the cases, do they fall under the, let's say, for example, a specific country's law? Would the particular law of the country change an outcome of it?
No, because frustration is an English law concept.
Okay.
It's a Commonwealth concept, and I believe it should be an American concept, right? So it's an established principle of law. It has nothing to do with whether you're in Barbados, Jamaica, Hong Kong, China, etc., right? So it's a fundamental principle of law, okay? And so unless you're going to talk about a particular legislation. So what we mentioned before about the destruction of the subject matter applies to practically all jurisdiction. We talk about the death or serious incapacity. We also talk about the non-occurrence of an expected event, right? And then the fourth thing I want to also mention is a contract can be frustrated if there is a change in the law or there is a change in government's policy. So you're entering into a contract and the contract is valid at that time. But after you enter into the contract, the government could change the law or amend the law, or there could be a new government policy that makes the contract now fundamentally different. So maybe you entered into a contract to import some motor vehicles and you never had a license. There was no requirement for a license. But after you entered into the contract, 6 months after or 3 months after the government imposed new legislation or amend the law that says anybody importing motor vehicles that are 2 years old or 3 years old or under 5 years old, you must have an import license. Then remember now, when you entered into the contract as a dealer, there was no requirement for a license. You just go and just import. But so the law is, if there is a change in the law or there is new government regulation, right, then that can interfere with the contract. And therefore, we now have 4 examples or 4 types of events that can cause a supervening event. Any way you take it, if you have time based on the question, you can put all 4. The examiner may ask you for 2 examples. The examiner may ask you for none.
Yes.
But based on your reading, then you are able to do that. So we come back to CPR squared.
Well, before you go, I just say and mention what the equation speaks to us about, because we're out of time, we're going to have to bring you back for the part 2. So let's remind us about the equation there again, what it means.
So the CPR square.
Yes.
You have to be confident. When you're going to do your law exam, and there are a lot of persons who are, I'll be very quick, who are pursuing CAPE law, and they have an intention of pursuing law as a career, right? But it doesn't matter whether they're going to do law as a career or not. But let me just focus on those who are going to do law as a career, right? When you're going to court, lawyers do not win cases in court. Cases are not won in court. Students don't get grade 1s when they get to the exam, and students don't get on the merit list when they get to the exam. You are already on the merit list long before you get to the exam and long before you write the paper. So C is confidence. You have to be confident, and you have to get that grade 1 long before you get into the exam. P is preparation. As I said, you have to prepare. Law is a reading subject, and if you're not prepared to read, then please go and do physics, chemistry, and maths, and computer science. And you have to read. Yes. And R square and R read, as I said, read. You have to read the cases. You have to read the cases. If you don't read the cases, or you're going to cite the cases, right? And the second one is resilience. The second R, resilient. You have to be resilient. You have to be a fighter. You have to be determined to do well.
Yes, thank you for that, attorney at law there, speaking to us about the frustration of contracts. And one of the things that we remember is that, the event must be unforeseen, not reasonably contemplated by the parties. Event must be without fault, and performance must be impossible or radically different. And those are some of the key takeaways. And I believe we're going to have the part 2, Sir Anthony, as we continue this part of the conversation, and to help our nation students as they prepare for their CAPE law exam. I want to say thank you so much to our executive producer, Dennis Brooks, and of course our technical operator, Andrew Anderson, as he would have been on the other side of the room there, ensuring that things are going well for us. Until next week, I want you to have a great weekend. Stay safe. This is Damien Scarlett tuning out. See you then.
If you not no education, people treat you like a book. Turn you in a handyman, dog food you have to cook. Them no one no candy man, no Barbie.
Exciting news! The Design Studio Nationwide